having to see him sneak off so he could hook up with a guy. But at least he found two people who he felt safe exploring himself with. There was a silver lining to the door of his closet. I turned, the crowded rooftop seeming to buzz with life. Normally, heavy crowds made me break into an anxious sweat for some reason, and if those crowds were crammed into a small space, like a club or a small concert venue, then the anxiety moved over for pure panic. Tight spaces weren't my thing. They just weren't. I managed to control the worst of my claustrophobia through intensive bouts of therapy, keyword being control. Sometimes I had it, sometimes I didn't. But up here, even with the crowd dancing and chatting and bumping into each other, I was okay. If I even felt a whiff of discomfort, all I had to do was crane my neck back and look up at the sky. Absent of any stars, but still full of wonder and, well, full of space. Looking around, I was happy seeing the group of smiling and familiar faces all together. I started as a baby attorney at the Star firm, fresh off my stellar run through law school. I'd been following in my mom Ashley's footsteps, down to attending the same law school and getting accepted for the same summer internships. And I'd been happy with how my life had turned out so far. Everything was running smoothly, on track, without any major detours or road bumps. I felt lucky in that regard. That was when someone caught my eye from across the bar, near the entrance which trailed with ivy like a verdant curtain. Speaking of feeling lucky... It was one of those, whoa, moments, where everything sort of disappears, time slows, colors glow, and the spring in my core tightens. Like spotting a celebrity from the other side of the room, someone you'd been fawning over through different-sized screens for years. Except I had no idea who this man was. All I knew was that he was scorching hot, and I could tell even with about 15 other people standing between us. Not the regular kind of hot, either. This man had something extra to him. A kind of black magic that wrapped me up almost instantly, locking me in chains with a bat of his thick eyelashes and bright white smile which was aimed, yep, directly at me. Smile back? Smile back. I'd been so thrown off I barely remembered how to smile. He cut through the crowd like a shark swimming through a school of fish. His tanned skin caught the soft orange glow of the lamps hanging throughout, his hazel eyes glittering like a pair of gems, getting closer and closer, and hey, he wasn't speaking to me. He walked past me and leaned on the bar before calling for the bartender. He was close enough now that I could smell his oaky cologne, and I could make out a few freckles on his forearm, and see the pulsing of his neck underneath the thick gold chain he wore. "What were you drinking?" he asked, this time directing his attention toward me. There was an accent in his voice that made me melt like a box of chocolate left out in the summer sun. He turned his face, eyes locking with mine, and in an instant, I knew it was game over. K.O., a done deal, signed, sealed, and delivered. There was no doubt in my mind. I was going to make this man mine. Theo Perez. Some nights just felt like there was the possibility of changing everything, altering the entire trajectory of your life. This felt like one of those nights. Un tremendo papi. Those were my exact thoughts when I laid eyes on the handsome Clark Kent-looking lawyer standing by the bar. A fucking daddy. I'd been invited to the party by a girl I'd briefly been with a few months back. Her name was Dixie Staples, and we'd met at a biker bar when I was tailing my then-client's cheating spouse. She was a tattooed bombshell of a woman, and I knew we'd be spending a few wild nights of our lives together, and that would be it. And it had been. A handful of nights, and then she was gone. No hard feelings, no regrets, no missed connections. Just really great sex, zero strings attached, and a friendly goodbye. It was how I usually handled my relationships, or rather how I mostly avoided them. Dixie had surprised me this morning by texting me out of the blue, asking to meet up. She said she'd been invited to a fancy rooftop party for a bunch of snobby lawyers and she didn't want to go alone.